YouTube, my name is Bacon Thief, and today, as part of our Halloween series of videos, I've decided to talk to you guys about haunted houses. My favorite things to do during Halloween, go out and go through a haunted house and get scared and stuff like that. And I've gone through quite a few in my lifetime. So, yeah, this is basically just the stories that I have from them. And yeah, so Halloween is very soon, this Friday. I don't know how elaborate I'm going to be dressing up this year. Just, you know, there's no costume contest this year. It's just going to be me handing out candy here. No one else in my family really gets as hyped as I do, so I might just do like a small costume. Not anything really elaborate though. So it may not be that exciting here on Halloween. Probably isn't going to be a Halloween vlog, unfortunately. But I did recently go to a haunted festival, I guess you would call it, or Halloween festival. It's they have the haunted hayride, they have Village of the Dead, and Field of Screams. And so they hire a ton of actors to scare you, and they set up these really cool scenes, and you either ride through on the hayride or walk through in the Field of Screams and Village of the Dead. Now this haunted house I've been to so many times in my life. It's called Hunt Club Farm. I've been there so many times, like ever since I was a kid, when I was old enough to go. Well, not really old enough to go, but my parents dragged me to it. So the first time that I visited this place, I just remember the Village of the Dead. I just remember that one. And that's because there was a guy, and that's only because we got held up. And it's only because we got held up at the end of it because there was a group still going through, so they wanted to make sure everything was in order. So this guy held us up and wouldn't let us through, and so I'm a scared little kid, and he's teasing me, and he's like 10 times taller than I am, and he's just big and intimidating, and so I got really scared, and I tried to go behind my parents as he was teasing me, saying he's gonna eat my toes and fingers. So I ran behind my parents, and they pushed me towards him, and because they weren't gonna let me chicken out apparently. So I used my parents for protection. What I did was I ran through his legs. I ran through this massive guy's legs to the exit, and yep, that's how that went. And apparently he thought that was really funny, and I was just mortified. And also, they give you candy as well. And so I went through, and I had this lollipop, and I hadn't opened it yet. And this guy, like, he comes up to me, and he's trying to scare me, and I'm like, lollipop? He's like, thanks, and he puts it in his mouth with the wrapper still on it. And then he goes back to scaring other people, and I was like, no, I don't have a lollipop. And so apparently I bribed the guy to get him to stop being so scary, and I just gave him a lollipop. So that happened. Those are my younger memories of this place. I went back this year and another year. It wasn't last year, but it was the year before that year. Like a week ago or something like that. And I went with my friend Teresa, and we got the wristbands that said that you could go on anything as many times as you want to. So of course we did that because we always have fun with it. I went a year before last year with her as well, and we did the same thing. And so we pretty much went on to all 3 attractions like multiple times. Like, I believe the haunted hayride we went through like 7 times. So we're there from the opening of the Halloween stuff to the ending of the Halloween stuff till closing time. And so this year was kind of funny because the actors were a lot more grabby. Every year they have a different theme, but this time they actually put their hands on you and they actually touched you, which I'm not used to them doing at all. I'm used to them being scary, but keeping their hands to themselves. I keep my hands to myself, you keep your hands to yourself. Apparently not, though. Apparently not this year, though. We were on the haunted hayride, and we always sit on the edge of the back cart and the back wagon, and so we were just riding through and sitting on the edge, and so the actors, they can pop up along the edges, which is why we like to sit on the edges, because it's fun to have them pop up. And so like I started interacting with them a bit more, but this time somebody actually reached and grabbed my side and squeezed, and I was like, oh, what's going on? Like, you're not supposed to squeeze your side, you're not supposed to squeeze people's sides. And with Teresa, they actually just brushed her side. So they brushed her side first, and when we went again, they actually squeezed my side, and I'm like, what is going on? You're not supposed to squeeze people's sides. And I mean, that's what I thought was I thought that was just general haunted house rules. You're not allowed to grab or touch anyone. I thought that was like overall haunted house rules. You're not allowed to touch anyone. But this year they were very touchy. Another person, they just like grabbed my hair and like they just like stroked it like that, and I was like, okay. And another this was a kid. This was like, they couldn't have been older than 8 years old, but somebody gave them a plastic knife, and they actually went up to me and Teresa and they pretended to slit both of our necks, but she actually touched my neck when she did it, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. There is some funny moments too. The guide on the haunted hayride, she likes to commentate and talk to people who are riding through, and so she was making up she was singing songs, and like really creepy songs, and she was just singing those as we're going through, and like before the actual stuff starts, and it's just riding, which I thought was hilarious. So she was the songs that they came up with, because they did one on Frozen, and it's like, do you want to hide a body or something like that. It was just so funny. So yeah, that was fun. But the funniest moment to me was when, like, any really dark or confusing areas, I like to hold on to Teresa's shoulders, because I get lost very quickly, and especially in strobe lights. I literally had to look down at the ground because it was just so mind-boggling, and it was just so confusing and messing with my head. So holding on to her shoulder. She's taller than me, and as we're coming out, I haven't taken my hands off her shoulders yet, and this guy comes up, he's like, what is this? Is this a train? And I was like, yeah. And so he was like, yeah, choo choo. And then he gets behind us and he's saying all choo choo. And then it somehow turned into a conga line. But he didn't actually put his hands on me, which I was glad about that. I was getting tired of getting touched. He wasn't too happy about getting touched. I was like, eh. But yeah. But me and Teresa, we were the only ones that had face paint on, because we just did very minimal face paint, and hers was a little bit more elaborate than mine was. And we were the only ones in the entire place. I was not an actor that did that. And so people just kept on commenting the entire night, like, do you guys work here? Are you guys, like, what are you guys doing? Like, oh, you guys work here? Oh, you guys must really love Halloween. And we kept on meeting up with these people in line, and they had so many questions about the makeup and like, where did we get it and stuff like that. It was just regular face paint. But they were just like, wow, you guys must really love Halloween. And we're just like, yeah, we do. And so we just kept on meeting up with them. And so I started messing with them, and they were like, yeah, you're our friends now. You're our new friends. And we're just like, yeah, we're friends of the living. And then like I did like some kind of creepy laugh or something. I don't know. But it was a lot funnier in person, and it was just kind of cool to be able to act up a little bit. But one time, when we were walking through the Field of Screams, Teresa said my name, and she was like, come on, Caitlin, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, okay, and then like all the actors, they're out there, they knew my name. And they were just like, yeah, Caitlin, come on, Caitlin. And there's nothing more creepy than when they actually know your name, and then they start messing with you. It's like, ah. And then there was this girl, she had like this weird mask on, and she kept on putting her hand up to my face, and she was like trying to suck out my soul from my face. And so she left Teresa alone. Every time that we went there, she left Teresa alone, but every time she messed with me. I'm like, really? But on the haunted hayride, I made contact with one of the guys, one of the actors. He was like, come down here, come on, you're next. And so I was like, no, I don't wanna. I was actually interacting back with him. And he was just like, come here, girl. And he like jumped up there and he got on my face. So yeah, definitely if you're in a haunted house, try to interact with your actors, because like you'll know if they're really good actors if they can improvise, which he definitely was improvising. And it was so awesome. So yeah, if you ever get to go to Hunklow Farm, highly recommend it. I plan to go many years, or many more years. Other than that, this is a haunted house that got closed down, unfortunately. But it was a haunted house inside of a rec center. And so it was close to my house, and my brother actually worked there for multiple years. And he was always either chopping up off someone's head or like torturing someone. And they had some crazy effects in there. And like there was some actual like serious theatrical thing. And my brother would come home all the time with his voice just gone. And because he was yelling and pretending to chop people's heads off and just screaming. And so whenever I went there, my brother always messed with me, and he always pretended to, and he always tried to scare me. And he actually reached down and squeezed my head, and I'm like, oh. And they were pretty cool because one was actually pretty cool because it was all community based, and people just around the neighborhood could be a part of it. And my brother was a big member of the rec center. Like he was always going there and playing ping pong and pool and whatever he wanted to play. And so it was pretty cool seeing my brother in action and being like real theatrical like that and reaching out and getting people. That was fun. So yeah, that one stays with me mainly because my brother was in it, and I thought that was. So yeah, that one always stuck with me because of that, because it had my brother in it. And so that will always stay as one of my favorite haunted houses just because of that, even though it's closed down. But and they give you like treat bags at the end of it, and it was just really awesome. Like saying like, oh, you survived, here you go, here's candy. It's like, yay. The next one I'm going to talk about is one that I was actually in. I worked at a haunted house that wasn't paid during Halloween, on the weekend before Halloween, because me and Jesse, we were in a costume contest, and so we were just sitting on the side. We had been interacting with people all day, and so we just sat at the side, and like two guys heavily dressed up and made up, and they were way too old for the costume contest, came up to us and they asked us if they knew about it and also if we wanted to work in it. And so we're like, alright, sure. So, and even though we were just exhausted and we were just sitting off to the side, they still wanted us because we apparently looked really cool. I was the puppet and Jesse was puppet master. So yeah, we went. We had like 2 hours to go. We had 2 hours before it was time to go. And so we went over there and we helped set up a little bit, and we walked through and we figured out the landscape of the haunted house. And so it was just, because you don't really know what the landscape is like when it's dark, because it's going to be dark. Like there's only like lines that kind of guide people that come through. So yeah, it was pretty heavily set up. It was an outdoor thing, and there was just scenes set up outside with actors in it, but it's still really creepy, like, because they just like had all these dividers up so people can't really see each other as they're going through, and nobody knows what's gonna happen. And so the guy, he would yell, "Fresh meat," and like he was dressed as a butcher, and so he would guide people down and through it. And so so we had acting parts. So I was the one that was going to be tortured by this big guy, and he would be hitting this metal barrel, and I would be like crying and screaming for help. And so when people came through, I would cry and scream for help, and he would hit the metal barrel, and like I would crawl forward, and like he would slam his axe down on the ground in front of me. And we made sure it was safe and everything. He washed my hands, and he was like, "Get back!" And I would like cry out for people, and they actually really enjoyed that scene, because like I guess like the metal hitting the barrel scared them, and then me coming up and screaming and crying, and it was really awesome. We were like splattered with blood. So yeah, he was keeping me captive, and then they moved on, and Jessie and her sister were, and so they walked through. So when people are leaving, like they think that nothing's gonna happen to them, but as they were going through, like they would jump out of places and they would scare people. And so I worked over there like at one point, because we switched spots because we wanted to try out different areas. And so I sat over there. So I went over there, and we would come up with different strategies, and I limped out when someone was coming, and I just had like this blank stare on my face, and I was just like just limping out towards them. And this girl, she literally ran into her boyfriend, and she was just like, come on. And I just like started following them out, and they were just like, no. Yeah, that was definitely fun, and that's a very memorable that word. It was an experience, and it was an awesome experience. And if I ever get the chance to work in a haunted house again, I will 100% take it. It would be my dream in order to set up a haunted house, and like just one for the neighborhood, if people in my neighborhood were actually into it. Because I was just I love the scares. I love stuff like that. So yep, so that's some of the memories that I have from all the haunted houses I've ever been involved with, whether going there or working there. So yeah. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below if you visited any interesting haunted houses, or you've worked in haunted houses. I would love to hear about it. Alright guys, have a great Halloween if I don't see you till after Halloween. And I hope it's extra scary. For those of you who are trick-or-treating, I hope that you get lots of candy. And for those of you who are just dressing up, I hope you guys get really creative and have a lot of fun with it. Alright, so I will see you guys later. Bye!